the winter can be brutal on your car. Man. But starts up perfect every time. I'm gonna show you how you can make your car start up like this every time in the winter. What's up, everyone? Today I'm gonna give you 5 tips on preparing your car for these brutal winter days. Brutal winter days. They're easy because they're going to utilize some things that you probably have laying around your house. Toothbrush, a Vaseline, or what they call petroleum jelly, windshield washer fluid. If you don't have any, get yourself some antifreeze, and of course, some money for gasoline. So those are things that you usually have laying around the house, right? I'm going to show you how to use those things to have your car ready for brutal winter days. All right, so if you're ready, here we go. All right, so that list of things I was saying that should be laying around your house. Some of them things you probably will have, and some of them you have to acquire, but normally you will have some baking soda, some Vaseline, toothbrush obviously, some windshield washer fluid. You can never have too much of that, so if you don't have any of that, please get some, because it's very important to have that during the winter months, especially. Antifreeze, the proper amount. You can do a 50-50 solution where it's part water, part antifreeze, and a wrench of some sort, or a socket wrench like this in case you need it for your battery terminal, and I'll show you where that comes into play. And tire pressure gauge, something that's important to keep in your car if your car doesn't already have tire pressure monitoring built in. All right, and I'm gonna show you how those things come into play and how easy it is to make sure your car is ready for the winter. All right, so under the hood, one of the first things you want to check is the condition of your battery. Check out the cables, make sure that the battery cables are clean and that they're on there nice and tight, okay? This is your negative lead, the black one. You want to make sure it's on there nice and tight. And your positive lead, just want to make sure there's no corrosion and that there's on there nice and tight, okay? The corrosion that you'll look for, it looks like ashes. Looks like a pile of ashes stuck all around and piled around your terminals here. If you see that, that's where your toothbrush comes into play, and your baking soda. So all you need is a little bit of baking soda and water mixture, a couple tablespoons of baking soda dumped into some warm water. Pour that warm water directly onto the terminal, and take your toothbrush. A hard toothbrush is perfect, but any toothbrush will do it. And just scrub your terminals clean. Get all the corrosion and that you see on it. Looks like ashes on there. Okay. The wrench you would use if you need to take the terminals loose, so that you can get inside the terminal or the connection and around the terminal. If you see there's a lot of corrosion and you need to get it thoroughly clean, you want to take the connections off your battery leads, okay? So that's what you need your wrench for. Otherwise, you could just clean it while it's in contact with the battery, which is safe as long as your car is not running. Just make sure your car isn't running. Pour the water and the baking soda directly onto the terminal, and then scrub it if necessary too, to get it nice and clean. And then make sure you go back, rinse it off with clean water, and then wipe them dry. All right, and that's how you make sure your battery is in perfect condition for the winter. And after you've gotten your battery cables all clean of corrosion, that's if there was corrosion. If there isn't any corrosion, that's perfect. But if there happened to have been some corrosion that you needed to clean off, and once you have it thoroughly clean and dry, that's where your petroleum jelly comes into play. 100% petroleum jelly or Vaseline. You just take a nice glob of that and you apply it to the terminal, okay? And what that will do is that will prevent corrosion in the future, believe it or not, all right? Just a little bit of Vaseline on the terminal will keep away corrosion. So you want to apply it to both the positive and the negative terminal, all right? All right, so for the antifreeze or coolant, that's a little more tricky, but the best way to do it is not through the radiator cap, okay? Don't bother the radiator cap, especially if your car is warm, but you just want to just leave this even if your car is cold. But for your coolant level, you look at your bottle here, on there on the front side, maybe even on this side. Some cars make it a little bit easier to check. You just want to make sure that your fluid level is either at the minimum or maximum level. Let's see if I can get that into the view for you. Okay, so as you can see where it says max and minimum, okay, these are the levels of amounts of coolant that you'll have in your reserve tank. That's what this is, a reserve tank. And you access that through the cap here. Important to do this, especially when the car is cold, not when it's hot, when the engine's hot. But in the wintertime, the minimum line is about how much antifreeze you want in your reserve tank. You always want to make sure your reserve tank has some coolant in it. It's important that it's here as well as your car's radiator, okay? But in the wintertime, check your minimum level. If you can see fluid, you can pretty much see where mine is. You can see the darkness, the difference between the light area and the dark area. That's where my coolant is. If it was summertime, I would want my coolant to come up as far as here. But in the wintertime, you just take the cap off, and that's where you add it with a funnel, or you can pour it directly in. All right, next is your washer fluid. That's easy to locate because it's usually going to be a bright blue cap on it, all right? And all you want to do is just check it. It may be a dipstick in there, but really the easiest way to make sure you have enough washer fluid is just pour some in there until it's full. Okay, and it doesn't matter if you spill, because washer fluid solution is pretty much harmless to spill in your car and into the environment. So basically you just want to pour it until you actually can see that it's full. That's when you know you have enough. And in the wintertime, something that you must remember, never ever add water to your washer fluid reservoir. Okay, in the summertime that's fine because it will stay fluid, but in the wintertime, water will freeze and it will damage the reservoir. It'll crack it because the ice will expand as the water freezes, or it will clog the line. So when you go to try to use your windshield washer fluid, your frozen water won't allow the washer fluid to dispense onto your windshield, and you can just damage the system. So only use water in the summer, never in the winter. All right, so easier than the things under the hood would be the tire pressure. Okay, so you want to use your tire pressure gauge, or sometimes your car has that built in where it tells you that your car is low on air pressure with either a light that indicates that, or some cars, luxury cars, even tell you how many pounds of pressure are in each individual tire, and then you can go to that specific tire and add air. But on your driver door, I'll show you real quick. All right, so located on your driver door is a sticker that tells you the cold tire pressure. All right, you can use this tire pressure pretty much all year round, but specifically for the cold, you had to put 33 pounds per square inch per tire in this car. Yours may say somewhere between 28 pounds per square inch or 35. All right, so that's how much air pressure you want to have in each tire, what it says specifically on your car's sticker. All right, and to finish up my point about the tire pressure, the reason why I point that out during this time of the year is because low tire pressure specifically will decrease the amount of fuel economy that you get out of your gasoline. So you definitely want to make sure that you have the proper amount of air pressure in your tire to prevent yourself from burning more fuel than you need to, because that's the point I'm going to touch on last, and that is the importance of making sure your car has enough gas in it during these months. But having the proper amount of tire pressure affects that. All right, so please check that. Make sure that it's the right amounts in each tire. And last but definitely not least, when it's this cold, make sure you have lots of gas. Okay, either half tank or full tank. either one, but do not let your car get low on fuel. And the reason why I stress having half a tank or a full tank of gas is because, believe it or not, gasoline acts as an antifreeze because there's an ethanol content in your gasoline, which has a low freezing point. Gasoline pretty much won't freeze, but you want gasoline flowing through your car, keeping your car essentially warm enough to run. Not to mention, you just don't want to run out of it. Running out of it obviously leaves you stranded on the side of the road, and in the wintertime, that's brutal. So with those 5 things, you can make a good day not go bad, essentially. All right. And those are my 5 tips. Hopefully that helps. And on that note, peace.